Share something that you believe about becoming successful that most people disagree with.
Hi, everyone. I love this show. I love John too. You're such a good person and just
Thank you.
so like real. Like I know John and he's just such a real guy. So it's really cool. Even though he's really successful. So I think that one of the things that people think about being successful is I think they think that there are certain types of people that are successful. Maybe it's you were born into it, or maybe it's because your personality but I think that anybody can be successful if they just stick to something. And I think people give up way too soon.
Fire Nation, if you're not excited about having this kind of energy for the entire interview, then you might want to flip off this episode because Chris is going to bring the heat. She's going to bring the fire. She's going to bring the energy as we talk about how to achieve limitless prosperity in 2022 and beyond. And for those of you that are joining us live, hello, we're doing something kind of new and fun here. This is actually live. There's people here that are in the chat. They're hanging out. For those people that are listening to the recording at a later date, you're awesome too. You get to hit the pause button and you get to, skip back if you want to hear something all over again. So you're doing some right things as well. And we're talking about a lot of interesting conversations today with my guest, Krista. And when I first met you, Krista, I'm kind of just thinking back. I mean, I was honestly blown away when you told me that you hadn't actually even lived at home since you were 13 years old. Because when I was 13, I was still trying to figure out how to tie my own shoelaces. So, I mean, it just kind of was like, wow. I heard a little bit of the story. I want to hear more of it. And I think that right now is a great venue for you to go through the process of how you went from there to where you are here today.
Okay, so I haven't lived at home since I was 13. There was some physical abuse happening in my home from my mom, and it was obviously hidden. No one knew about it. And so it was kind of like I lived in two families, if that makes sense, because I had this really loving mom and dad with my two brothers, and we, did vacations together, and we went camping all the time. And then there was this like child abuse that was happening that was hidden, so it was kind of like my mom would sort of have these rages and then she would feel really bad about it. It was like, I lived that life. Right. So when I was 13, I started running away from home and I ended up living in the streets and living in my parents, my friends' parents' RVs and living in abandoned buildings. And every time I would get taken back, that I would just run away again. So I did that for about a year until finally I broke the law. I ended up breaking into my 8th grade PE locker room and stealing all the girls' clothes and their lunch money because we didn't have clothes or lunch money or food. So we stole their clothes. So that got me put into juvenile hall. I was in juvenile hall for about 3.5 months. And then I went back home and I realized really quickly that things hadn't changed. And so I called my probation officer and said, hey, I can't stay here. So he arranged to have me go to a foster home. So I spent the rest of my youth in a foster home. And I remember when I went to leave home, I remember my dad in the driveway just like crying and begging me to stay, but he didn't know what was going on. He was like, we can work this out, Krista, please don't go. And I didn't tell him what was happening. So it was hard. I mean, I remember crying for about 6 months in the foster home because I really missed my family. It was like I had this, I was lonely and I missed my brothers and I missed my mom as well, obviously, as my dad. And but it ended up being okay. I just switched it around and I was always a good kid, just couldn't handle the abuse anymore. So that's my story.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I know it's vulnerable. It's hard to talk about those type of things, especially in this public of a format. So I really commend you for that. And I want to honor you for that as well. One thing I do want to ask you, just out of my own personal curiosity before we move on, we hear a lot about juvie, as we grow up, and it's kind of always like a threat hanging over the heads of kids of like, you're gonna go to juvie if you're bad and yada yada. So you spent 3.5 months there. Was there anything positive that came out of that experience?
Well, let me tell you, the first week I was there, this wasn't positive, but I remember this girl. I think she must have been about 8 feet tall. At least to me, she seemed like that, right? This real big girl. And we were in the bathroom and she grabbed this other girl's hair and her head and started bashing her head into the porcelain toilet, and blood is everywhere. And she is just wailing on this girl. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die in here. So she ended up getting put in isolation for, maybe about a month. And then when she got out, I was like, I'm going to make friends with the mean girl, because when you're in juvie, you want to make friends with the mean person so they can protect you. So I made friends with her. They ended up making me be her roommate. And she was actually a madam. So she was a madam in San Francisco. And she's like, Krista, I'll take care of you. You can come, stay with me. We get out of here. And I'm like, that's okay. I think I got it. Like I made a choice not to become a prostitute at a very young age. So I didn't take her up on it. But it was actually scary. It was scary. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know if there's anything good about it other than I learned really early on to make friends with the mean people.
Well, hey, listen, if there's anything positive you can take out, you did not become a prostitute at a very young age. So you made a good decision in juvie. And I want to skip way ahead now. And then we're going to do some backfill throughout the rest of the episode too. But I want to skip way ahead because what really blew me away was that story that you just told. And then, of course, seeing you at different events and conferences that we've, both spoken at and got to hang out at, you're just very confident, self-assured, very successful. I mean, you're currently making, anywhere from $2 to $4 million a month, specifically using digital marketing. So this being like an entrepreneurial show, let's break down that process. Like, how are you managing to do those kind of numbers in this kind of environment?
I know this sounds like really cliche, but I will tell you that, when you go through abuse from a parent, it's very psychologically damaging, because your parent are the ones that's supposed to protect you. So I had to really, really work on my mindset. I mean, more than I can tell you. And I've read so many books. I still read so many books on just like the brain and how the brain works and the power of positivity, the power of showing gratitude. And I just, people think that I have all this energy all the time and I'm always so happy, but I really choose to be like that. Right. And I know that high energy equals high income. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been told, like, I love your energy. And, we hired you because of your enthusiasm. And I hear that probably almost every day. And so I believe that, we have a choice of how we choose to deal with things. We have a choice on how we show up, and we have a choice on how we take situations in our life and how we view them and how we think about them. And so I have just always, I'm very mindful of just really concentrating on like what am I thinking about? What am I saying to myself? Like how am I perceiving different situations? How am I I'll give you a good example, John. So, I call it the day I hired you to help me with this project. And I was just like freaking out all of a sudden because I'm doing this project and I'm like the we'll call me I'm like the underdog, right? I'm definitely the underdog in this thing that I'm doing, and there are way more successful people with me that have huge lists of people. I don't have that, and they have a larger audience. And so all of a sudden I emailed John. I go, I'm freaking out. Like all of a sudden I'm going like, what did I do? And he's like, hey, change your mindset right now. I was like, okay, you're right. And I just like switched it. Like I literally just turned a switch. And John said, well, you are human, Krista. You are human. So what I'll tell you is that when you're going through things, or the doubt sets in, or the fear or the anxiety, because it happens to all of us, it happens to, to me, to John. It's just like letting those things be moments and not turn into hours or days or weeks. And since then, I get the fear sometimes, John, because I am totally the underdog in this whole thing. And I keep telling myself, you're going to do good. You're going to do good. So it's just a matter of, just what are you saying to yourself? What are you thinking? How are you looking at situations? And just really being mindful of that, because you can create anything that you want. I really believe that there's nothing that is past any of us. Another thing is I wet the bed until I was 10 because of the abuse. I couldn't read until I was in 4th grade. I have a central processing disorder. And so it's been hard, right? But I chose like, this is what I want in life. And this is why I'm just won't stop until I, keep going. And I'm not doing $4 million a month. I had one $4 million month. We're averaging about like $1.5 million a month.
Cool. Thanks for clarifying that. I appreciate the authenticity and the transparency. I mean, that's something that I really pride myself on as well. We've been launching or publishing our monthly income reports now for 107 consecutive months. So we love the honesty. We love the transparency. We love when people actually do share numbers. Like you had a high of 4 million. You're doing anywhere from, 1 to 1.5 every month, which is mind blowing. And that's insane and fantastic. And I appreciate, again, you sharing that, because for people to see where you've come from, the struggles that you had, wetting your bed till 10, not being able to, write until, was it right until 4th grade? Read or write,
right? Because you can't read, you can't write.
Right. So you can't read or write until you were in the 4th grade. I mean, all the physical abuse that was going on at your household, which you were keeping, quiet from your father and other people in your family, of course. I mean, that's just when people can see what you've done from where you've come, they do ask themselves the question, why not me? As they should be, because that is a question that you, Fire Nation, should be asking yourself. Why not me? In Fire Nation, we'll be going over some really powerful principles as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors. Are you ready to grow your business now? What if you could learn the proven systems and processes that have been used to grow thousands of multi-million-dollar success stories? At thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire, see how Clay Clark's proven business coaching has helped thousands of entrepreneurs to increase profitability dramatically. Clay's proven business coaching program is month to month and less money than hiring an average minimum wage employee. Sound too good to be true? Go to thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire to see thousands of documented success stories. Because Clay only takes on 160 clients, he personally designs your business plan for you. Then Clay's team of talented designers, videographers, web developers, workflow mappers, and accounting coaches will help you implement that proven plan. See thousands of verified success stories and schedule your free 101 13-point assessment with Mr. Clay Clark himself today at thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and directed through practical plans of action. Get your proven plan and schedule your free 13-point assessment today at thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire. Customer expectations are at an all-time high, and making things easy is how you'll win. If you can accomplish easy, you'll turn one-time customers into lifetime customers. So how can you make things easy for your customers? It starts with knowledge, like having a 360-degree view of how your customers have interacted with your business in the past, what their buying preferences are, and how likely they are to become a repeat customer. But how do you gain these insights? With a HubSpot CRM platform, that's exactly what you'll get. Easy-to-use tools that give you and your teams the full picture of your customers. Just one example of how powerful having that full picture can be. Well, HubSpot's intuitive payment tools allow you to help your customers have a seamless purchase experience. With full access to payment data, your teams get the full customer story, meaning they can provide the best possible service. And with directly embedded payment links, your customers can quickly and easily purchase and pay from emails, live chats, and more. Learn more about how HubSpot can help your business grow better at HubSpot.com. Now, you were crushing it in real estate, and you still are in a lot of ways, but specifically with real estate training. And then you decided to shift into mindset, into prosperity. And you're doing training all around those two main topics right now. So why did you make that decision, despite all the success you were having in the real estate training, to go into the mindset, prosperity training type of mindset?
Because it starts there. You could teach, and I'll tell you how I really learned this, is that I was doing this challenge for about 4 years now. And in the challenge, we started seeing people get success really, really quickly. And the challenge was all about mindset. It was like figuring out what your limiting beliefs are, figuring out about what holds you back, figuring out what you're fearful of, all about mindset. And so people started getting success really quickly during this challenge. And I realized that in my own training, that people weren't seeing the successes as quickly, because I was like, I don't want to give them all the tactics. I want to make sure I show them how to do all these things. And I was throwing all the stuff at them, right? Like the tactical things, but I skipped the mindset. And so when I redid the training and put mindset for the first month of the training, I noticed a huge shift, because mindset is more important than skill set. And you could Google anything, right? You can Google anything. As you know, we have one of the same mentors, Russell Brunson. He always says, ask who, not how. And you can Google anything, but what I have found is that when people get their mind right and they truly are just really cognizant of what they're thinking, what they're saying, what their thoughts are, your thoughts become things, right? Like what your philosophies, your beliefs, the things that you focus on, they turn into your actions, your habits, how you implement. Those turn into your life, right? Your outcome. And so it all 100% starts from thoughts. And if you do research on the brain, your brain is just like, it's this magnificent gift that we have that we take for granted, and we don't realize, what it can do. And so, I love the mindset aspect of it, because I feel like it's not just about money, right? Money's great, but it's about really truly living a happy life. And right now, with everything that's going on in the world, I just see how my students are struggling and how people are just so afraid. All you hear about is, you just hear about the negativity, you hear about the inflation, you hear about interest rates, you hear about the war, you hear about the pandemic. It's all negative. And we have between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day that come through our mind. And there's so much attention on negativity that's what people focus on. And when they focus on that, they keep getting more negativity in their life. So I really want to help people right now, especially with what's happening, just like, we can get through this, but I think right now more than ever in history, at least as long as I've been alive, it has not been more important than to start focusing on the good stuff. And so we have a challenge that's coming up. It's called Limitless Prosperity. So you go to limitlessprosperitychallenge.com, and it's a 3-week training. It's a half an hour a day. When I'm just going to be talking about people about, teaching them the strategies that I have learned to really, really be super uberly successful in my career. I have 2 companies that, million dollar a month companies, and another company that's over $1 million a year, that I just kind of is more of a passive company for me. And it all starts from the mindset. So I want to help people with it.
And I want to get more into that training, but before we do, let's just give maybe one really practical tip for anybody listening to this right now. If they are struggling, if they are finding that negative thoughts are encompassing the majority of those 60,000 thoughts they're having every single day, what's one practical tip you can give the listeners right now, something that they could do on a daily basis to really help?
I have this, I'm actually writing a book right now. It's called Stop, Snap, and Switch. And it's a strategy that I developed where when you notice, remember, energy goes where focus flows. So when you notice what you're thinking about, right, you stop and recognize it. So you snap a bracelet, so a removable bracelet, a rubber band, a hair tie. So you stop, snap it, recognize what you're saying, take the bracelet, put it on the other hand, and then restate the negative statement. So it's stop, snap, and switch. Just by doing that, just by being more mindful of what you're thinking about, you would be amazed at how quickly all of a sudden your mood changes, your output changes, your productivity changes, so many parts about your life just from recognizing the negativity. And then you start to become happier internally, which also you're happier externally. And so it starts to have like a compound effect on your family, on your friends, on your kids. So stop, snap, and switch. Recognize the thought, turn it around, restate the statement as you're putting the bracelet on the other hand. And then you're going to start to notice at first, like, oh my God, I'm thinking about negative stuff. And this is negativity, with whether it be about your marriage or your body or your business or anything, right? Just recognize, and just by doing that, you'll be amazed at what can happen to your life.
I love that. That's very practical. That's something that everybody can do. It's simple, but it's something that can be very effective when done in the manner that you're talking about, because I can definitely see that, where your mind flows, the energy is going, and you need to, let's stop that flow. Let's readjust it just like a river and start it going down the right direction. And when it's going in the right direction, you don't want to stop that. So you're not going to switch anything. You're not going to stop anything. And, like you see with water, water doesn't jump out of a river and try to make a new river. Like, it pretty much is happy in that riverbed. So as long as you're making sure that your water is flowing in the right direction, you're good to go. And something that I really want to add to this that's really been beneficial for me over the years, it's a gratitude journal. And, don't think that journaling has to be this 20-minute, 30-minute, hour, multi-hour thing. You're going to be sitting down and writing down all your thoughts and all your worries and all your excitement and all this. It can be something as simple. And in fact, I think it's more effective when it's something this simple, which is when you get up in the morning and you go through your morning routine, and part of that morning routine includes a gratitude journal where you just write down one unique thing that you're grateful for. And you start doing that every single day. That starts getting your mindset going now towards not what am I scared of, not what am I anxious about, what am I stressed out about, what am I upset about. It's what am I grateful for? And the important word in that sentence, though, is unique. What is the unique thing? Because otherwise everybody's like, I'm grateful for my kids, I'm grateful for my kids, I'm grateful for my kids. And we know you are, and you should be, but we need to get outside of just one thing and look around. I say, hey, look around right now and identify one thing in your world right now that you are grateful for. That lamp that's providing light for me right now. I'm grateful for that, because without that, we wouldn't have good lighting for this video. But that's just one small thing that I can be uniquely grateful for that otherwise I don't even think about. But it can start the day off on the right foot. Gratitude. Now, I do want to end with a bang here, Krista. I want to get back to your training that you mentioned, and I want to go into a little more detail about this because I'm going to be taking the training because I'm a big believer in this type of mindset training. I'm going to be a part of it in certain ways as well. We're going to have some fun together because, as you mentioned earlier, I am your strategic coach for this really exciting, challenge that you're doing, not to mention what's happening with Dean Graciosi and Tony Robbins. So we're going to have a lot of fun working together, combining our forces, so to speak, to really make a massive impact in this world. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So talk to our listeners, everybody that's here live today as well. What exactly is this challenge all about, and why should they really make the time to get involved?
So especially with everything that's happening, you know how it is, right? Like it is paralyzing to people right now. People are paralyzing, and what people do under times of stress is they just stop in many cases. And so it's just going to be to start your day off with some positivity, some enthusiasm, some hope, and gratitude. That's one of the strategies that I teach. And it's funny that you said that because there's research about showing gratitude and how long, when you are just by showing gratitude, like John said, the effects of showing gratitude last for up to 2 weeks. 2 weeks of positive, 2 weeks of positive effects. So we're going to be helping people just start their day off right and become a positive, source of inspiration for their families. My dogs are going crazy right now.
By the way, get a dog if you want some joy in your life, because
you hear them?
My dog, Gus, brings me so much happiness. I take him on a walk every morning. He's so happy and excited, and every evening, and I'm like, what if life was that simple? That, I could just be happy just for walking outside, which we all should be. So that was a nice little interlude by your pup.
I have two of mine, and they're going crazy right now. But isn't it crazy how happy dogs get? Like you leave for a half an hour and they come back and they're like, I've never seen you before.
Ever.
And they're just like so crazy. But that's how, we want to be as much as we can be like dogs when we haven't seen them for a while. And it's really that simple. But, life it's not as hard as we make it. It's like, I really believe that everything is a choice, right? Like you could have, what's that saying? Make your mess into your message.
Oh yeah.
So, right. Like that's kind of what I've done with my past. And I think people look at people like that are successful, like you, right? Or me. And they think, oh my gosh, there's something special about Krista and John because they are successful. It's just that like you have and I have very similar attitudes. We're both positive. We're at B. I remember meeting you and you were so nice, like, and I just said, hey, my team wanted me to ask you if I can be on your podcast. You're like, sure. I'm like, okay, cool. Right. And being on your podcast, remember that? And I was like, yeah, I did it. But if I didn't ask, and John was just so gracious. And so, part of what makes you so successful is your positive energy. You have that aura about you. And I think people will say, well, I'm not naturally happy, but you can choose to be, right? It's a choice. And you think about people that when you meet them and they're like, there's energy givers and there's energy suckers, like be an energy giver, right? And so this Limitless Prosperity Challenge is just to really help people be mindful of what they're thinking and really choose their own path and their own direction. And I think it's going to be your anchor to having a great day. It's going to be your anchor to helping other people have a great day. It's going to be your anchor to creating more wealth, prosperity, and happiness in every aspect of your life. So I'm just super, super excited about it.
Well, let's end with a bang. Let us know the one thing that we talked about here today that you really want Fire Nation to walk away with from all the value bombs we dropped.
That you are the only one responsible for creating the life that you deserve, and you deserve it, right? There's like no one's coming to save you. It doesn't matter what happened to you in the past. Like you are in control of your destiny, and don't let what the world is saying right now and all the negativity like hold you back. There have been billionaires that are made during times of recession and during times like this. I've had the best years of my life in business over the past years during the pandemic, and it's because you choose it, and it doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean that it's, that it wasn't hard at times. And when we talk about money that we make, John, we know it costs a ton of money to make money, right? Yeah. Like, $1 million months. Well, there's been times where it cost me $700,000 to make $1 million, right? Totally. Or there's times when I've lost a lot of money from decisions that I've made. So show up, just go to limitlessprosperitychallenge.com. I'd love to have you. I promise you that I'm not going to be selling you anything during those 3 weeks. It is full value and service. Invite your family, invite your friends, and just like, let's be happier together.
I love that so much because Fire Nation knows they're the average of the 5 people they spend the most time with. And you've been hanging out with KM and JLD today. So keep up the heat and keep up the heat through this challenge as well.
Free challenge too, John. It's free.
Free challenge, limitlessprosperitychallenge.com, limitlessprosperitychallenge.com. Free. You get to surround yourself with me, with Krista, with other amazing people. I mean, I see the people that are here live today. They're just dropping this awesome positivity in the notes in the chat, and it's so cool to see. They're giving thumbs up. All this great stuff's happening when you surround yourself with the right people. So make that happen. And Krista, I want to say thank you for sharing your truth, your knowledge, your value with Fire Nation today. For that, we salute you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
I appreciate you.
Hey, Fire Nation. Today's Value Bomb content was brought to you by Krista. And as I mentioned in the intro, we are making way for a new entrepreneur on fire for Tony and Dean's great launch this year. So Krista hired me as a strategic coach, and I'm going to help her rock her challenge, Dean and Tony's challenge, and it's going to be free. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be so much value in both of these challenges that will make this a year that you won't forget. And if you want to rock your very own podcast, check out our free podcasting course where I will teach you how to create and launch your podcast for, you guessed it, free at freepodcastcourse.com, freepodcastcourse.com. I'll catch you there, or I'll catch you on the flip side. Is this your year? Visit thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire to see how Clay Clark's business coaching helps thousands of entrepreneurs to dramatically increase profitability. It's month to month and less money than hiring an average minimum wage employee. Schedule your free consultation today at thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire. Business Made Simple, hosted by Donald Miller, takes the mystery out of growing your business. Recent episodes like how to attract and retain top talent and how to make more money with your current products are straight fire. Listen to Business Made Simple wherever you get your podcasts.